In the last session, we had very clear discussion. Have you remembered, right? So, how we can implement our own API framework? Are you getting? So, just Durga framework. we implemented here in the last session. Durga framework. Sir, API for web API we developed, right? Okay, that's all. This is it is I didn't use REST framework anywhere. Everything we did on our own. Okay, like now there is one small problem we have to fix in this framework. What is that problem? Is sir, all CRUD operations should be performed by using single endpoint. Remember this one. All CRUD operation should be performed by using single endpoint. Single endpoint compulsory. If you are trying to use multiple endpoints, then automatically it is not. It's not a real-time standard. Okay, compulsory we have to use a single endpoint only. If you are going to publish multiple endpoints, unnecessary your partner applications may get the problem. That's why single endpoint must be there. Sir, in the last if we covered our examples, if we see our example without the REST M, if you see, sir, here views.py. If you are seeing views.py, do you know there are two classes I define. There are two classes I define, sir. The first class itself is employee details CBV, which is always talks about with respect to IDs. With respect to IDs, right? So with IDs, it's always going to talk about. But under this one never talks about ID. So here to get all the records, to create a resource, this code I wrote here. I wrote next to get based on ID, next to perform update operation, and to perform delete operation I implemented here. Are you getting right? So how many URLs are required? There are two URLs are required according to our code. If you want to send according to our code, if you want to send the get request, if you want to send the get request to get a particular ID, can you please tell what is the endpoint, sir? What is the URL, base URL? To get here to get a particular record based on ID. Then what is the URL, sir? HTTP 127.0.0.1 colon 8000/API/1 ID slash like this I have to pass. Sir, do you know this is called base URL? Observe that this is called base URL. This is called the endpoint, right? Okay, this is called endpoint. Like this we have to pass. Now, sir, to get a particular record, this is the thing we have to take. Now, to get all the records, observe a bit very carefully, sir. To get all records, if you want to get all records, then we have to use just like this. Regarding to get all the records, then we require to use this one. Observe that, sir. Observe a bit very, very carefully about this. So to get all the records, this is the possibility you have to use. Suppose I want to create a record, to create a resource. Then what we have to go for? Yes, to create a record. Yes, this is the endpoint we require to use. Similarly, to delete and to update. Sir, here, we require to use to delete. Just observe, to delete, sir, this is to delete, to update a particular record, then automatically we have to pass the ID, because sir, to which record we have to perform updation, compulsory we have to specify. Next here, do you know, to delete a particular record based on the ID, to delete a particular record based on the ID, then automatically we require to pass. So now all these 5 operations are exposing with how many endpoints? My partner applications, if they want to perform, if they want to use this API, then how many endpoints compulsory they should be? 2 endpoints. 2 endpoints compulsory they should be, sir. With just simply API, with API/1 compulsory, sir, 2 endpoints must be required for 2 people, right? Okay, which is never be real-time coding standard. It is against the coding standard, right? So all CRUD operations, I want to implement by using single endpoint. Regarding all CRUD operations, I want to implement by using single endpoint. This is what we call, single endpoints. This thing itself is nothing but real-time coding standard. Everyone can able to understand? Please confirm the requirement. So how many endpoints you can take for our API? How many endpoints we can take for our API? Only 1 endpoint. This is the real-time coding standard, sir. How you can implement that part I have to do. Now, what I will do is, in the existing application only, I want to implement so to work for the single endpoint. After completing, one more example I will discuss so that you people can get much complete clarity. Okay, now have a look once about this one, sir. Here, employee detail CBV, employee list CBV is there. What I want to take here is, let me in the views.py, one class, let me comment, sir. One class, let me comment one class. Sir, which class I want to comment is, okay, maybe first class or second class, anything, you can just comment this one, sir. Sir, I'm commenting this second. I don't want, because one endpoint means only one class based view should be there. Sir, I'm commenting second. Only first one I want to use. Okay, even for the first one also, I want to change a class name. I want to change the class name. Or instead of this commenting, let me take one separate class. One separate class. Let me take one separate class. Okay, which is the responsible to do that? Okay, well, now have a look once, sir. Class employee CRUD CBV. I'm taking employee CRUD CBV. I'm taking, sir. Sir, employee CRUD CBV should be child class of view. View. Okay, like now the next I have to implement which operations are get operations. Sir, it is a bit dangerous. Remaining things copy paste on most of the thing. First get must be required. DEF get. Okay, self comma request comma here star args star keyword args. Okay, well, DEF get a self request star args star keyword args. Okay, like now here listen carefully. From the partner application, we have 2 methods are there. Have you observed, right? We have two methods are there, sir. Okay, if you want to get based on ID, then we have to call this one. If you want to get all the records, okay, this is. Are you seeing the difference in the endpoint? Please confirm, friends. Are you seeing the difference in the endpoint or not? Yes. What I have to take is, forget about all these things, right? Just I'm commenting. I'm just commenting, sir. Sir, control forward slash. Who is asking? Selvarthi. Control, sir, just select and control, sir, slash. It is going to comment all the lines. If I can use control slash again, control forward slash. Okay. Now I don't want, sir, here I don't want to pass. Here just observe carefully. What my requirement here is, legend. listen this one, sir. What my requirement is, you may pass or may not pass ID. You may pass or may not pass ID. If you are passing ID, if you are passing ID, then that particular ID record I want. If you are not passing ID, then then all records information I want. Correct or not? That is about our requirement, right? If you are passing ID, that particular record I want. If you are not passing any ID, then all records I want. Okay, but endpoint base URL endpoint is always the same. I don't want to touch this part, sir. I don't want to touch this part. Then how you can handle, that is the very important. What I will take is ID is equal to none. I'm taking, because you may pass or you may not pass. Regarding you may pass this value or you may not, because default value like this I'm taking. Now my target is, observe a bit very carefully about this code. Now I'm taking data is equal to sir empty dictionary. I'm taking, sir, empty dictionary. If ID is not none, what the meaning of that? You are passing, please respond. You are passing some ID. If ID is not none means you are passing some ID. So in that case, data is equal to ID I'm taking. So here ID I'm passing, sir. So if here just take very special case, sir. If you are passing ID, now your data dictionary contain one key value pair. What that key value pair is, this ID. Okay, that's all. If you are not passing ID, then what is the value of data, sir? Empty. That's it. Everyone can able to understand? Friends, are you able to understand? If you are passing ID, then this data dictionary contain one key value pair. If you are not passing ID, then what is the default? Empty dictionary. Regarding what the default? Empty dictionary, right? Now the point is, here this is my base URL plus endpoint, comma, data is equal to this data I have to send, but in JSON format. This data I have to send in JSON format to the partner application. Okay, can you please guide what the next line? Oh, we did several times. What the next line? JSON data dumps of data. JSON dot dumps of data. That's it. Now this is okay. Get resource. Okay, like if I call get resource without any passing ID. If you are not passing ID, boss, I want all records. If I pass ID 3, now I want only third ID record. Okay, like this is. But URL is always the same. Regarding URL is always the same. Base URL, endpoint is always same. I don't want to change. Okay, for both. Okay, well, how to implement this get method is a bigger challenge. Now observe that. Take very special case. Sir, can I copy paste these things also? Because I may require to use this. Okay, HTTP response mixin, next serialize mixin. In the last session, so multiple times we use HTTP response mixin, serialize mixin. Okay, like a view. Now, first, what I want to take, there is one more get method is there. Get object by ID. This method is there, sir. Get object by ID. This is a utility method. Do you know what this method is going to do? If you pass ID, the corresponding object is going to return. If that object is not available, what it will return? Please confirm. If that object is not available, what it will return? It will return none. That's why. So you can check, sir. Okay, well, now how to implement get method? First thing, array, what is the client partner application provided data? First get that data. Data is equal to request dot body. Request dot body. Now I got the data. So first question, is it the JSON data or not? Is it the JSON data or not? If it is not the JSON data, just simply provide, hey, please provide valid JSON data only like, sir, is there any method to check is it valid JSON or not? Yes, friends. Ayo, is a JSON. Already I implemented one method. Is a JSON like this, right? So now where I implemented, sir, inside utils.py. Are you getting right? I implemented one method. If it is the JSON, returns true, otherwise false. Like this, I covered already, right? Now here what I want to take is, I want to check is it JSON or not. If it is not a JSON, provide response saying, array, please send a valid JSON only. Okay, like now only this particular code can I copy paste or not. Now observe this one. Now have a look once. Somewhere we covered this one. No, is valid JSON or not? Can you please observe? Are you seeing anywhere this code? Is JSON like here have you observed? Data is equal to like this we have. Okay, here like this, right? Now have a look once. Can you please, most of the work today with the copy paste only we can do that. Can you please have a look once, sir? Not required to keep any explanation. Now you can easily understand. Data, client partner application provided data. Now, is a JSON of this data? Is it JSON or not? If not JSON data, JSON.dumps of, please send the valid JSON data only. Return self.render to HTTP response JSON data status 400. Any doubt up to this? Please confirm. Any doubt up to this? Okay, clear. It's a because we did already, right? Now the next question, sir, it is the valid JSON data only. Array, if it is the valid JSON data, convert into Python dictionary. Okay, P data is equal to, anyone can you please guide how to convert into Python dictionary? Please guide how I can convert into Python dictionary. JSON dot loads of data means client provided data I'm passing. Now can you please convert into Python dictionary? Now I got the Python dictionary. Now first question I will ask, array, in this data, is the ID attribute available or not? Is the ID attribute available or not? I want to check, sir. How to check ID attribute is available or not? Very simple. ID is equal to P data dot get ID. If ID is not available, then simply none. If ID not available, then simply none. Remember this one. So here it is. Now I'm trying to get client provided, from the client provided data, what is the value of ID? Okay, well. Now, very important point. Up to this, any doubt? This is the dictionary. Nandakishore, it is the dictionary. Converting JSON data into Python dictionary. From the Python dictionary, get method. So what is the value associated with the ID? If this ID is there, the corresponding value we will get. If ID is not there, then we are going to get none. Now my question is, if ID is not none, if ID is not none, what is the meaning of this? Anyone can you please tell? If ID is not none, what it means? Good. Is not none means ID is there. If ID is there, then what I have to take? I have to provide only that particular ID data only to the end user. Correct or not? If ID is there, man, I have to provide only that particular ID only, ID data only. So first get EMP is equal to, sir, do you know self dot get the object by ID of ID we have. I hope you may aware this code. You may aware this code. I am getting self dot get object. Here it is not from the mixin. Here only I define the method. Here only I define the method. So whatever ID you are passing, just the corresponding object we are going to get. If it is not exist, then none we are going to get. So now I got employee object. If the corresponding employee object is not there, sir, ID only, you are passing ID 100 ID, there is no employee object. Then how to handle? If EMP is a none. If EMP is a none, sir, none. Can you please tell what will happen? If EMP is a none, what will happen? Anyone, if it is a none means, sorry, the corresponding, so the corresponding record not available, no matched record found with the specified ID, like I have to provide. Now, let me copy paste somewhere. I hope this type of thing is there. Okay, here, this is. If you want, I will explain again. Don't worry, sir. Just can I use this one? JSON data is equal to JSON.dumps of message the requested resource not available. Return self.render. Okay, like the requested resource not available with the matched ID. Okay, well, this is the response I'm going to send. Any doubt? Any doubt? Up to this? Okay. Now here, so if the control is coming to this part means, if the control is coming to this part means, sir, this return statement is not executing, then only it will come. This return statement not executing means this condition fails. This condition fails means employee available. If the employee is available, then convert that employee data into JSON is equal to self dot serialize of EMP. Have you remembered? Somewhere I write this serialize mixin. Have you remembered, right? Serialize mixin. Sir, from the mixin, we convert this one into JSON data. Okay, well, now just return that JSON data. Now return that JSON data to the partner application. That's all. Return that. Okay, well, now observe the flow very clearly, sir. First, I'm getting client provided data. Is it valid JSON or not? If it is not valid JSON, just I provided, please send valid JSON data only. Next, if it is valid, convert into Python dictionary, and just check in that ID is available or not. If ID is available, then identify corresponding employee object. If corresponding employee is not there, provide requested resource is not available. If the corresponding object is there, provide that object info in the form of JSON to the partner application. Everything is clear. The code you have to understand. Any doubt up to this? Please. Okay. Well, what is the next thing? Can you please confirm when the control will comes to this place? line number 36. When the control will comes to line number 36, if ID is none, correct or not? If ID is none, if ID is none means client not sending any ID. If the client not sending any ID, then we have to provide total data. Are you getting? Total data we require to pass. For that, is there anywhere code is there? Mostly copy paste. Can you please observe? Yes, but while performing copy paste, observe indentation, very important. So when the control will comes to this place means if ID is a none. If ID is a none, can you please get query set? Can you please get query set and convert into JSON, convert into JSON and send that JSON. Okay, well. But here HTTP response is not required. Better to use self.render. Okay, this is the more meaningful. Any doubt, friends? So if you can able to understand this one, now get method with the ID, without ID, happily it is going to work. Can I test this functionality up to this? Okay, but it is the different class, right? It is the different employee CRUD CBV. Let me go for URLs. Now employee CRUD CBV. Like so, this is our URL pattern. Okay, well, same URL pattern. This is our URL pattern. Employee CRUD CBV dot as view. Okay, well. Now, listen a bit very carefully, sir. Now, let me open partner application. Partner application is also ready, but in the database, I don't know how many records are there. Okay, first let me run the server. What is the application name? Without the rest M. Without the rest M. Okay, now py manage.py run server. Happily application, I mean server is going to run. If any problem is there, we can fix it. Don't worry. Okay, now let me open command prompt. Without the rest M. Okay, rest model. Now here py manage.py dump data test app dot employee. Okay, hyphen indentation 4. Can you please have a look once? Yes, total how many records are there, sir? 5 records are there. Remember, primary key 1, primary key 2, primary key 3, 4, 5. Total how many records are there, sir? 5 records are there. Now I want first, I mean third employee record. Already I set 3. Get resource of 3 like this, right? Get resource of 3. Now py test.py test.py. Observe carefully. Am I getting third employee information or not? Ray, respond. Am I getting third employee information or not? Yes, perfect. Okay. Now I'm taking, sir, some 5. I don't know. 5th employee record, maybe 500 like this. So now let me cross check. 5th employee record we are getting. So don't feel this 200. 200 is the status code. Success. Okay, this is the thing we are getting, sir. If you are not, suppose I'm passing 50. I'm passing 50. What will happen? 50. I'm passing. What will happen? So ID is there, but the corresponding resource is not available. Can you please observe 404, the requested resource not available with matched ID. Getting the requested resource not available with matched ID. Perfect, it's going to work. Okay, now I'm not passing any argument. If I'm not passing any argument, total 5 records we have to get. Are getting complete. This is the first employee, next second employee, third employee, fourth employee, fifth employee, like a total 5 employees data we can able to get. How many endpoints I'm using for this? How many endpoints I'm using? Only one endpoint. Are you getting only one endpoint? That's all. Sir, this is the style you have to use while developing the code. So get method is very clear for you. Okay. Now, yeah. Now we have to go for, okay, this is the get. Next we have to go for post. For the post, CSRF exemption is there. So that's why first let me do that first level. Let me do that. Next, for the post, already our URL to create a record, already it is the API only. That's why we are not required to worry. Only put and delete, we have to change the code. Put and delete, we require to change the code. But for post, it is the same. Okay, what I will take care here is, sir, post somewhere, post maybe. Here this is the class CBV, sir, post is there. Now have a look once. This is our, okay, this is our employee CRUD CBV. Now I'm taking post method. Are you getting post? First get the data. Observe that carefully, sir. First get the data. Next, is it JSON or not? If it is not JSON, provide please and valid JSON only. Otherwise, EMP data convert into Python. Next, create a form object. If the form is valid, save that resource created successfully. If any errors are there, can you please do this one? Are you getting? I have one small doubt, sir. When it is going to fail? When it is going to fail? Form dot is valid. Am I implemented any validations? Am I implemented any validations in the last examples? Yes, we implemented. Where, sir? Where I did? Inside forms.py. Inside forms.py, salary should be, if salary less than 5,000, immediately rise validation error. Okay, like now with the single endpoint, post method is working properly or not, I have to check, sir. Let me go to my, sir, client application. Let me comment this code. Okay, now this is the thing what I'm trying to take. Let me remove the comment. Next, create resource. Okay, like, sir, this person, this is the new record I have to place. This is the new record I have to place. 700 Katerna, 7,000 Mumbai, like a new record I have to place, right? Okay, that's all. Now 7,000. Okay, I don't want 7,000. I want 4,000 only. Is it going to be accepted? Please confirm. Is it going to be accepted? No, because validation fails. If validation fails, what will happen, sir? Have a look once. Yes. So 400 status code. The minimum salary should be 5,000. Regarding minimum salary should be 5,000. That record not inserted. If you want, you can see only 5 records are there. Last record is the Shiva only. Okay, well, validation is also working properly. Now here I'm taking 10,000. Okay, or 7,000 I'm taking, sir. If I can take 7,000, observe, is it going to work or not? Please, can you please confirm? Is it Is it work or not? Yes. Why not? Happily, resource created successfully. Now have a look once. Observe carefully. Any record came or not? That's what you people should be aware. So now post is also working. Post is also working based on same URL only. Okay, well. Now what about put and delete? What about put and delete? It is the same terminology, sir. Let me go for put method and the delete method, sir. It's a very easy, sir. Nothing will be there. So now let me write the code and I will copy paste. Here, just have a look once. If df, okay, what the method name? Df, what the method name? Put, okay, self comma self comma request star args star kw args like I'm taking. Now take very special care. ID is not needed. If you are going to pass ID, then endpoint will be changed. Remember this one. ID I will send in the form of dictionary. Regarding in the dictionary itself, JSON data only. Okay. First thing what I will take here is, okay, very simple, sir. Very simple. Now I will copy. I will copy up to this one, sir. Have a look. I will explain. Don't worry, sir. Sir, don't say only copy. I will explain. Sir, first thing what I'm trying to take, get the data. So in this data, now have a look once. Client application how? Sir, let me comment this code. Now update operation I want to do, sir. Update operation I want to do. Can you please update resource with the ID? Now I want to here update resource with ID 8 I'm taking, sir. Okay, now can you please make eCell as double line e address as Delhi. Regarding e address as Delhi like this, right? Now observe, sir, update resource ID new EMP like this we are going to get. Can you please send here? Please make sure here we should not pass any ID. Here we should not pass any ID. Which ID you want? Here you require to specify. Regarding here we require to specify that ID, sir. Sir, can you please tell what is the code we have to take? ID is ID. Okay, ID is equal to is ID, sir. ID is ID, comma, like, but anyway, this ID we have to take within single quote. So whatever here I have shown, whatever ID you are passing, I'm adding in the dictionary only. Now I'm sending this dictionary in the form of JSON data. Any doubt? Can you please observe? Are you in the position to see this one, right? Now how the data is going to come to the partner application, I mean to the Django application. So the data will reach Django application. Okay, sir, in the form of JSON only, including ID also. Okay, now come to our story, sir. Views.py. Here observe, I got data. First question, is it valid JSON or not? If it is not valid JSON, please send valid JSON data only. Okay, if it is the valid, converting into that, get ID, get ID, sir. ID compulsory should be there. If ID is not none, ID is not none, assume that if ID is a none, if ID itself is a none, then what is the way how to handle it? Because ID is not none. If ID is none, can you please tell what I have to take? If ID is a none means you didn't pass any ID. Then to which record I have to perform updation? To which record I have to perform updation? It is always a problem. Correct or not? It's always a problem. That's why. So what I'm taking here is here. Let me copy paste these two lines. Observe carefully. JSON data here to perform updation, ID is mandatory. ID is mandatory. You please provide. Are you getting? Please provide. Okay, like I'm taking like this. Okay, JSON data return if ID is none, like I'm taking sir. Okay, well, now the next thing, what I have to take, sir, if ID is not none, if ID is not none, what I have to take? Can you please tell? If ID is not none, what I have to take? Please confirm. Anyone? Can you please confirm, anyone? If ID is none, if ID is not none, get the employee, get the EMP. So EMP is equal to self dot get the object by ID, sir, based on that ID. Okay, now I got employee object. But here also there is a problem is there. If ID is 100, the corresponding employee object is not available. Then how you can perform updation? That's why. So first is EMP is a none or not. Are you getting? If EMP is a none, if employee is a none, means no record how to perform updation. There is no such type of record. You are sending ID, man, that 100 ID you are giving. Where is the corresponding employee record? That's why the problem is going to come. Now what I will take is, sir, here just somewhere we use it. If EMP is a none, return like this, right? Now mostly copy paste. Yes, friends. Can you please have a look once? If EMP, sorry, this line is not required because already copy pasted, second time it's going to come. Okay, can you please cross check? Please cross check. If EMP is none, none. So the requested resource not available with matched ID, not possible to perform updation. Okay, so no resource with the matched ID can't update. Like this, I'm telling sir. Return self. So no resource with matched ID can't update. No resource with matched ID, so not possible to perform updation. Okay, like, can you please tell when the control will comes to this place? Line number 71. Anyone? When the control will comes to this place, if EMP is there, if EMP is there, EMP is not none means employee object is there. Oh, if employee object is there, have you remembered original data is equal to get his data into a dictionary form. Get his data into a dictionary form. Now 1 minute. So I hope somewhere I implemented this terminology. Okay, here 1 minute. Yeah. Today most of the things are happening with the simple copy paste, man. Yeah. Now here see this. See this one. Observe very carefully, very carefully, sir. If EMP is a none, if EMP is a none, okay, so no resource with matched ID, not possible, okay, well, sir, employee object is available, man. If a EMP object is available, okay, so provided data. Now I'm getting provided data from this data. Provided data means this one. Original data is this one. Original data. Now, can you please update original data with the provided data? Yesterday we covered this one. All the people are in a position to remember this logic, right? Friends. Yes. Yes, all the people are in a position to remember this logic, right? So, whatever new data they are providing, update this new data with our original data. Okay, well, now with this original data, can you please create a form object? Have you observed? Have you observed, right? Instance is equal to EMP. Why we have to take this one? Why we have to take this one? Can you please tell? Because, sir, can you please consider this data for this existing object? For this existing object, okay, like if form dot is valid, sir, it is the valid, sir. Now save resource updated successfully, return response. If any errors are there, resource not updated successfully, like this, sir, just I'm providing errors. Which errors coming? That errors information directly I'm sending to partner application. Any doubt? Can you please have a look once? How the put method is implemented? Sir, here I got client data. Observe carefully. I got client data. Is it valid JSON or not? Is it valid JSON or not? If it is not valid JSON, provide error message. It is a valid JSON. Can you please convert into Python dictionary and get the ID? ID. If ID is not available, then to which record we have to perform updation? Sorry, not possible to perform updation. Sir, ID is available. Get the employee object. But the ID is there, but the corresponding employee is not there. Provide error information. Okay. Now corresponding employee is also there. Corresponding employee is also there. Now get provided data. Get provided data in this and original data in this. Now update this new data with this original data. Create a form object. So consider this updated data with this already existing employee object. So can you please, after validation, can you please save resource updated successfully? While performing validation, if any problem is going to come, send the error message to the partner application saying what problem, what errors it faced. So have you observed, right? Seems to be everything is just normal English. I don't think you are getting some difficulty to understand this code. Okay. Next up, if form dot errors means if while validating, if any errors are going to come, that error information will be stored inside errors. Getting Anil? Now validation error will be raised. If the validation error is going to rise, then this part is going to execute. Okay, simple. Even you are not required to keep this line also. Directly we can take this one. Because when the control comes to this place is if it fails. Clear, right? It is not going to raise exception to the end user. Now, because I only raised that error, raise forms not validation error, minimum salary should be. So if it is going to, if this one is going to raise error, then is valid method returns false. That's all. This validation error won't be displayed to the end user. Okay, just is valid method returns false while performing validation. If it is seeing any exception, simply is valid method simply returns false. If it returns true, save that. If it returns false, then send the error information like Anil. Getting? Yeah. Now let me start our partner application cinema. Sir, in the partner application is ready. I want to update the resource with 8 with the ECL 9999 Delhi is the address. 1 minute, sir. 1 minute with the primary key 8. Okay, this is the data is there. Mumbai is the address. ECL is the 7000. Now let me execute. Resource updated successfully. Resource updated successfully. Let me cross check. Can you please observe? Now what is the salary? 9999. What is the employee address? Delhi. Are you seeing the difference, right? But earlier we have 7000 on Mumbai. Now it is updated. Okay. Now same endpoint. There is no difference at all. Sir, I didn't touch my urls.py. Same endpoint. Whatever required data I provided in the JSON only. Okay, well, suppose I'm providing 80, sir. 80. Now what will happen? 80, sir. Now observe, no resource with matched ID, not possible to perform updation. Okay, well, good. Here, I'm not passing ID. I'm not passing ID, sir. ID I'm not passing. Just ECL and address. Then to which record we have to perform updation? Now observe. To perform updation, ID is mandatory. Please provide. All error conditions also working properly, sir. Not required to keep any explanation. Any doubt? Clear, right? How many endpoints I'm using? Only one endpoint. Only one endpoint. I'm not using multiple. Now, let me comment this line also. This code also. Last one, sir. Delete. Okay. So here I don't want to pass any ID, this type of things. Okay. Where we have to pass ID? Where we have to pass ID is in the dictionary. In the dictionary, data is equal to ID. ID is ID. Data is equal to ID. Now here, comma, data is equal to sir, here data. Can you please cross check how the data is going, sir? How the data is going through? I mean, ID is how the ID is going to send to the Django application through JSON only. Okay, well, now this is the partner application. Let me implement that application also. DEF delete self comma request comma star args comma star kw args. Okay, like now what is the next thing I have to take care? Sir, somewhere our required cinema is there. Don't worry about that. Here, maybe somewhere. So, if ID is not none, if EMP, wow, how beautiful, man. Complete code. Luckily, I got. Here, see, get the data. Is it valid JSON or not? Is it valid JSON or not? If it is not valid JSON, please provide send. Okay, Python data. From the Python data, I'm trying to get the ID. If ID is not none, sir, not none. Then what I have to do is EMP, get the EMP object. If EMP is a none, the requested resource not available with matched ID. Sir, when the control will comes to this place, anyone? Line number 100. When the control will come, please tell. Analyze and then please tell. When control will comes to line number 100, if employee with matched ID, employee is there. With matched ID, employee is there. I want to delete that employee. I want to delete that employee. What is the code I have to take? Very simple. What is the code we require to take? emp.delete. For that, nothing, no process is required, man. emp dot delete. Automatically, the data will be deleted. The data is deleted from the database directly. Next, just provide some response. Just provide some response. Of course, status, like if the status is equal to 1, like somewhere we implemented delete. 1 minute. Yes, friends. Now have a look once. Okay, here I'm taking status deleted item. If status is equal to 1, resource deleted successfully, return this response. Next, else unable to delete, please try again, something like this. Can you please cross check this total delete operation? Single here, can you please cross check? Observe that I'm getting data. Is it valid JSON or not? If it is not valid JSON, provide. Okay, error message. Next, valid JSON, convert into Python. Get the ID. If ID is not none. If ID is not none. If it is not none, okay, get the corresponding employee. Okay, like sir, there is one small problem is there. If ID is a none, if ID is not none, okay, you provided. If ID is a none, maybe a chance. Then what I have to take? Okay, here just to perform updation. Can you please confirm when the control will comes to line number 106? Can you please? When the control comes to line number 106, if ID, can you please tell, sir? If ID is none, if ID is a none, okay. Now to perform deletion, ID is mandatory. Please provide. Okay, that's all. Now have a look once, sir. Tester.py, delete resource of 8 I'm taking. 8 sir, 8 I'm taking, sir. Now here resource deleted successfully. Let me cross check. Now the last record won't be there. Okay, again only this data is there. Okay, 5. I want to delete 5, sir. I want to delete 5. No issue. Automatic, sorry. I want to delete 5. Anyway, sir, observe py test.py. Now resource deleted successfully. Can you please cross check? Now Shiva record is not available. Okay, 400 like this. Now I'm taking here 50. Can you please observe 50? The requested resource not available. The requested resource is not available. Clear? Suppose I'm not passing ID. I'm not passing ID. Now what will happen? To perform deletion, ID is mandatory. Please provide. Are you getting right? So all CRUD operations we are performing with how many endpoints? Please confirm with how many endpoints we are performing, sir? Only one endpoint. Only one endpoint. If you observe urls.py, only this is the URL, whatever I'm using. Okay, for all my partner applications, I want to send for all partner applications, I want to send this API. Okay, this endpoint. By using that, happily they can able to access. Clear, right? Okay. Yeah, Nandakishore. Here, suppose when if the status is 1 means deleted successfully. Are you getting? If the status is 1 means deleted successfully. Suppose I'm trying to delete, but database there is some problem is there. Okay, database server may be down, In that case, deletion is not going to be happen. Yeah, that's all. So for every application, for the total API, single endpoint rule is always recommended, so that my partners are not required to remember multiple endpoints. Easiness. All the things should be performed by using single endpoint only. Okay. Today I saw some IP stack. IP stack. IP stack. Yes, here 1 minute. So do you know this is one third party person, sir? This is from third party person. Okay, here this is from third party person, sir. Okay, I mean he is always going to provide IP based on the IP address, the corresponding information like have you observed, right? Here see country code India, next country name. Here I got from my IP broadband. Okay, like IPv4 AS IN India Telangana Hyderabad zip code including zip code it is going to provide. Okay, can you please send a request to your location also? Are you getting the same thing? Can you please observe? Shashank, I will come to that point only. Wait. Have you sent? Friends, have you sent? Yes, is it going to represent your location? Your IP address? Yes. Maybe Nandakishore, don't worry. Hindupur, Karnool, maybe the things are just the internet service provider and IP address. IP address, based on the IP address, right? Okay. So this is this one. Now, do you know if you want to access, if you want to access their API, you know they are going to tell there are some 1 minute at the top is there any pricing documentation. Okay, get a free API key. Okay, like documentation. If you consider documentation, okay. Now have a look once. Base URL. Are you getting base URL? This is the base URL, sir. Next and after that, endpoint, endpoint, something like. Sir, the response is going to come in this style. The response is going to come in this style. Are you getting in this style? The response is going to come. So based on your requirement, you can use this data. Like we have to provide documentation for our API. Are you getting the point, right? So this is the endpoint. Base URL is this one. Next, this is the endpoint. Next, if you have any security kind of thing, then automatically like. Yeah, Vaishnav, what it means? Is it the same? Yeah, have you observed? If you want to know Bitcoin price, so I have to send this one. I have to send this is the base URL. This one itself is nothing but, do you know? This one itself is nothing but like. Are you seeing right? It is the JSON response, right? So just I will use this one in my Django applications, so that at any point of time I will get what I will get the current Bitcoin price. Clear? So we can do that, no problem. Okay. Now suppose my requirement is, okay, well, sir, my requirement is, observe my requirement. I want to write an application. I want to write an application. Okay, just to know the Bitcoin price today. To know the Bitcoin price today, I want to write a small Python application, right? Now have a look once. Here, just all this nonsense is not required. Okay, just here, just observe that. Here, have a look once, sir. What I'm trying to take, REST for request get off. Okay, now here this is the get request I want to send. What is the URL? Yes, this is the Bitcoin price. Okay, like I'm sending the request, sir. Sir, I'm sending the request. Now I'm getting the JSON response, of course. So now p data is equal to resp.json. Okay, assume that, sir, print of p data. What will happen? Have a look once. Is it going to respond properly or not? py test.py. Sir, it is our regular application. Can you please cross check? It is JSON data we are getting. This is the JSON data we are getting. It is the list of records. We are getting the JSON data. JSON data something. Now what I want to take is, assume that is it possible to do here? Just I'm taking, this is the JSON data we are going to get, right? HTTP response, I hope. Is it going to work or not? 1 minute. What I'm trying to take, JSON dot loads of response. Is it going to accept or not? I'm not sure. Print of p data. If it is not going to accept, no issue. We can write the code. No. This one. Can you please observe? It is already JSON object must be str, bytes are not response. It is not. So obviously JSON here resp.json. It is already in the Python style only. Okay. Now how the data looks like? Can you please cross check how the data looks like? Sir, it is the list. It is the list first. In that list, how many elements are there? Only one dictionary is there. In that dictionary, what is the, sir, do you know price USD? Okay, this is the price USD is the variable name. Now what I'm trying to take is, observe that. So print of, okay, bitcoin price, in dollars, in USD, is print of, here p data of 0. P data is the list. In that 0 means a dictionary. In that dictionary, I want to know the value of price okay, USD. Are you getting? Just a price USD. Okay, like now observe. Perfect. Are you seeing right? Okay, so now, sir, here this coinmarketcap.com provided this API, sir. Are getting provided this API. Now coinmarketcap.com can be accessible throughout the world from any other software application to get the results, because they developed the API. Now by using that API, now everyone can able to access that. It may be Python application or Angular application or Java application, like any application, right? Clear, right? Now this point is base URL. The remaining part is by default considered as endpoint. So now this coinmarketcap.com is a great, it is now it can be accessible globally by any other software application, need not be human beings. Correct, right? Correct. Any software application can able to communicate with that. That's what you should aware. Okay, like accessibility of this application is going to be more. Now any application can communicate with any other application if you can provide API. That is the biggest advantage of providing API. API developer is more worthy than normal Django developer. If the person who aware both, then too good. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we have to make our application into the production, Anil. This is the subdomains concept. The subdomain concept will be there in the live. Okay, yeah, correct. Data hiding also, we are not going to highlight our internal things. Single endpoint is always recommended. Shashank, because I showed, right, just for that purpose only I showed documentation, API documentation of IP stack. Was this is the endpoint, this is the base URL, this is the endpoint you require to use. If any access key, security key is there, this is the way you have to access. Now you will get JSON response in this style. If you are not a JSON consumer, XML consumer, now the response is going to come in this style. Okay, better to parse this data, better to use this one. Like, do you know? So these people are to provide that service, they are charging also. Are getting to provide that service, they are charging. So here just for price per 1 month, basic like do you know 50,000 requests per month, they will provide support. 5 lakhs requests per month, $50 you require to provide. 20 lakhs requests per month, $99 you require to provide. Even for their services, it is the paid. Okay, time zones, like time zone from where the clients, sometimes what will happen for our application, from which location client is communicating, what is his IP address, I want to track what is his IP address, from where this person is communicating. Like, if you want such type of services, don't build, contact these API developers, contact these people. Already they have applications. Just integrate this application to our Django application. It is not API calls. It is the just what we can use the word. It is requests. How many requests are coming? Like clear, right? Okay. So that's all. So do you want me to share this code?